Have you ever been to Disneyland and wonder about the safety measures of the rides? Well, get ready to be shocked by the tragic story of Brandon Zucker and the gruesome Disneyland disaster that changed the park forever. Stick with us till the very end of this video as we dive into the details of this horrific event that shook the happiest place on earth to its core. Welcome back with another exciting video. Today we will be discussing a horrific incident that took place at Disneyland back in September 2000. It was a day that started like any other, a family trip to the happiest place on earth, but it ended in tragedy. The ride that this family decided to take for one last ride of the day would change their lives forever. Join us as we dive into the details of the gruesome Disneyland disaster and the tragic death of Brandon Zucker. The ride that Brandon Zucker and his family decided to go on was the Roger Rabbit cartoon spin. It was a fan favorite in the park at the time, and was debuted 6 years earlier in January of 1994. The ride was a zigzagging taxi filled with wicked weasels and other surprises. The riders would have to board a yellow taxi cab which seated 2 people, and the cabs would then exit the loading area once the traffic light had turned green. The guests would race around Toontown as their cab would spin 360 degrees. The Zucker family, who lived in Canyon County in northern Los Angeles, had arrived at the park around 11 a.m. It was just after 10 p.m. when Brandon, who was wearing tennis shoes and Mickey Mouse ears, jumped into the taxi cab with his 6-year-old brother Nicholas and his mother Victoria, who took control of the wheel. Brandon sat near the opening on the passenger side door, while his father David and grandmother Jean Kirland following in the car behind. However, within minutes disaster struck. After Brandon's mother bent down to pick something up, Brandon fell out of the cab, according to the father who witnessed this from behind. Brandon didn't even have enough time to scream for help. It all happened so quickly. His father then yelled, "Brandon fell out! Brandon fell out of the car! He's underneath the car, get him out!" His screams for help were soon joined by the screams of his wife. Brandon was now trapped and pinned down under the yellow taxi cab. David rushed out of his moving carriage, urgently trying to stop the car, which dragged the youngster about 10 feet before stopping in the Bonner China Shop section of the ride. He tried to lift the car off of Brandon, but it wouldn't budge. At this point, Brandon was not moving. He was trapped between the center bar and the vehicle's right side. His grandmother gently stroked the small boy's hand, attempting to console him, but he remained unconscious with his hands trembling. At this point, the ride attendant knew something was wrong and shut off the ride. Brandon's father then ran to him and screamed at the man, "My child is stuck under the car, help me!" After pressing the emergency button on the control panel, he allegedly ran with David to the small boy and tried to help him while another one was urged to call 911. The lights then came on and the ride was evacuated. However, according to witnesses Allison Fields and her husband Frank Leon, they saw David pleading for help and assistance. The ride operator originally went with David but then returned, which prompted him to return for a second time. According to Fields, a number of men moved to assist, but Disneyland employees warned them to remain back. David came back for a third time, and ride operators simply ignored him. After the third time, guests ignored Disneyland officials, and approximately 10 people, including Leon and his wife, jumped the barriers. Finally, after several minutes of trying to lift the car off of Brandon, the emergency services arrived. The paramedics attempted to revive Brandon, but unfortunately it was too late. Brandon had passed away from his injuries, and the tragedy of his death shook the Disneyland community and beyond. The investigation that followed the accident revealed that Brandon's death was a result of a lack of proper safety measures. The ride had no seat belts or restraints, which allowed Brandon to fall out of the car. Additionally, the ride attendants did not have clear procedures in place for emergencies, and the response of the employees was inadequate. Disneyland responded to the incident by implementing new safety protocols, such as the addition of seat belts and restraints on the ride, and improving employee training on emergency procedures. They also settled a lawsuit with Brandon's family, although the details of the settlement were kept private. To conclude, the tragic death of Brandon Zucker was a wake-up call for Disneyland and other theme parks to prioritize the safety of their guests. The incident also highlights the importance of proper emergency response protocols and employee training. While Brandon's death was a devastating loss for his family and loved ones, it ultimately led to positive changes that may have prevented similar accidents in the future. That's all for today. If you found this video informative and eye-opening, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more engaging content like this. Also, share your thoughts and opinions on the topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to spread awareness about the importance of safety measures in theme parks to prevent such tragedies from happening again.